I was the girl who followed Ethan Pierce around like a shadow, starry-eyed, longing for a single flicker of acknowledgement in his dark brown eyes. He was everything I thought I wanted: charismatic, confident, the shining star of every social circle. He had the money, the looks, the connections. I was just a scholarship kid at a prestigious university, an outsider desperate to belong. He barely acknowledged me then. When we finished college, he sailed into a privileged future, while I vanished into the hustle of survival. But life has a bitter sense of humor, or perhaps a sweet sense of justice. Fast forward a few years. I stand at the pinnacle of a booming tech startup, wealth at my fingertips, independence shaping my every breath. And who stands in front of me now, eyes brimming with regret and longing? Ethan Pierce himself, poorer in comparison, humbled, suddenly enthralled by the very woman he once ignored. This is the story of how heartbreak spurred me to greatness, how the man I chased eventually turned around with a kind of desperation I once knew too well. It's a tale of lost pride, shattered illusions, and the question that haunts me every time I see the plea in his eyes. Can I forgive the man who once shattered me now that I hold everything he once took for granted? Chapter 1. The party where I was invisible. I still remember the night I realized just how invisible I was to him. It was our sophomore year at Riverstone University, at a grand fraternity party hosted by the Pierce family. Ethan's older brother, Alastair, was the reigning star of the frat. The entire mansion overflowed with elegantly dressed students, heirs to fortunes, children of CEOs, glamorous faces from influential circles. I was an ordinary scholarship student with a borrowed dress, trying to appear confident among people who saw me as nothing more than a curiosity. I'd spent 2 hours curling my shoulder-length brown hair and perfecting my eyeliner, determined to catch Ethan's attention. Butterflies swarmed in my stomach, fueled by naive anticipation. My close friend, Nina, warned me I was setting myself up for heartbreak. She insisted Ethan only mingled with wealthy socialites, that he'd never notice a nobody from a modest background. But I refused to believe her warnings. I clung to the idea that if I was genuine and kind, my sincerity would shine. At the party, chandeliers glowed with golden light. Laughter and music echoed across polished marble floors. The air smelled of expensive perfume and spiced cocktails. I stood by the chocolate fountain, summoning the nerve to approach Ethan. He was laughing in a circle of well-dressed peers, wearing a tailored blazer that highlighted his athletic frame. His dark brown eyes sparkled with arrogance, his grin exuding a casual confidence that left me breathless. My heart pounded as I finally approached, carefully balancing a glass of punch. "Hi, Ethan," I managed, voice shaking. He glanced at me, eyes distant, then turned to one of his friends. "Anyways, as I was saying about my father's new investment," he continued, talking as though I hadn't spoken. A flush stained my cheeks. My mind scrambled. Did he not hear me? Or did he choose to ignore me? For a moment I stood rooted, expecting him to correct the oversight, to greet me politely. But he never did. His conversation flowed on, discussing yacht parties and summer homes, while I clutched my drink like a fool. My chest constricted with humiliation. A girl next to him, Melinda, sneered at me as if I were a stray cat wandering in from the street. Nina tugged at my elbow, whispering, "Let's go, Jade." He was right. We escaped to a quieter corner near the grand piano. My eyes burned with tears. Nina's expression was sympathetic yet firm. "I told you, Jade. He's out of your league." Her words hurt, but she was only trying to protect me. Defiance burned in my heart. I refused to believe that a difference in wealth or background could forever bar me from his attention. That night I vowed to prove myself worthy of Ethan's notice. If not now, then one day. My father always told me that with hard work and unwavering belief I could achieve anything. I was determined to make Ethan see me. Little did I know I'd spend the next few years chasing a dream that never wanted to be caught, and the heartbreak that journey inflicted would reshape me into someone I never imagined I'd become. Flashback interlude. Before the party, my mother had called me from our little home in the countryside, excited that I'd landed an invitation to such an exclusive event. She asked if I was wearing the best outfit we could afford, if I was meeting interesting people who might help me in life. I reassured her I'd be fine. I left out the part where everything cost more than we had, where I borrowed a friend's dress that was a size too small, nearly busting at the seams. My father was a quiet fisherman, my mother a part-time teacher. We weren't destitute, but compared to the opulence of the Pierce family, our resources were laughable. I insisted to them that a scholarship to Riverstone was enough to get me a good job, that eventually I'd help our family financially. And a small secret part of me hoped Ethan Pierce might see past my modest background and love me anyway, like a fairy tale romance bridging social classes. I was so sure sincerity could melt any barrier. That night at the party, reality came crashing down. Chapter 2. Blossoms of an Unrequited Heart. The following months, I found 1,000 little ways to try and catch Ethan's eye. I joined the student council where he served as treasurer. I signed up for a tutoring program he supervised. I attended philanthropic events where his mother was the guest of honor, hoping he'd see me among the volunteers. Every time I mustered my courage to speak or wave. Every time he barely acknowledged my presence. A curt nod, a half-smile at best. "Why do you do this to yourself?" Nina demanded one day, cornering me in the campus coffee shop. "He's so snobbish. He'll never appreciate you." I sipped my latte, forcing a light tone. "He's just busy or maybe shy. Once he sees how earnest I am, he'll realize we have common ground." Her pitying look spoke volumes. She believed I was delusional. "Jade, you're brilliant, you have a big heart. There are so many guys who'd kill to date you. Why fixate on him?" But I couldn't explain the hold Ethan had on me. Perhaps it was the allure of his confidence, the magnetism that drew crowds around him. Maybe it was the fleeting glimpses of kindness I thought I saw in the rare moments he spoke to me. I convinced myself he was just guarded, that beneath the arrogant veneer lay a soul that needed genuine love. I studied relentlessly to maintain my scholarship, balancing part-time jobs at the campus library and cafeteria. I worked nights, slept little, determined to keep up appearances. Meanwhile, Ethan breezed through classes, partying on weekends, his wealthy parents footing every bill. The contrast in our lives was stark, but I refused to let it discourage me. One spring afternoon, I stumbled across a conversation between Ethan and some of his wealthy friends in the campus quad. They joked about an upcoming yacht trip. I lingered nearby, pretending to check a poster on the bulletin board. My heart pounded as I overheard Ethan saying he might need a date for the outing. My entire being lit with hope. If I somehow ended up invited, maybe that trip could open a door to his circle. Summoning courage, I walked up, clinging to a script in my mind. "Hey Ethan," I said softly, giving a friendly smile. He paused halfway through a sentence about yacht capacity and turned to me. "Oh, hi." He hesitated as if trying to recall my name. "Jade," I supplied, forcing a laugh. "We're both in the student council's fundraiser committee." He nodded slowly. "Right. Jade." Emboldened, I pressed on. "I heard you mention a yacht trip. That sounds amazing. I'm actually quite fond of the sea." A half-truth. I grew up by the coast, but we never owned anything close to a yacht. If you need an extra volunteer for any planning or anything, I'd be happy to help. He studied me with mild curiosity, then shrugged. "It's just a private gathering, not exactly a formal event. But thanks anyway." Disappointment sliced through me. "Oh sure," I managed, trying not to show hurt. "No worries." He turned back to his friends, already forgetting I existed. My cheeks burned with humiliation. That night I cried on my dorm bed, hugging a pillow, feeling the weight of my unrequited longing. Yet I remained stubbornly convinced that if I could just do more, be more, he'd finally see me. In the swirl of heartbreak, my academics flourished, perhaps as an escape. I earned top marks in business and finance courses, outshining many privileged classmates who coasted on wealth. Professors praised my diligence, hinting I had a bright future if I stayed focused. I clung to that hope, telling myself that once I was successful, Ethan might respect me. Because if love wasn't enough, maybe success would be. Chapter 3. A Dreamer and Her Obstacles. By junior year, I began drafting a plan for my own startup. A small idea for a tech platform that streamlines supply chains for local businesses. My father's world of fishing cooperatives and small vendors inspired me to create software bridging them to larger markets. I pitched the idea in a campus entrepreneurship contest, hoping for seed money. Unsurprisingly, Ethan was one of the student judges. His father's donation to the school gave him that role. My heart fluttered at the prospect of impressing him with my pitch. I poured my soul into the presentation. Research, prototypes, a heartfelt explanation of how this app could change small-town economies. On the contest day, I stood before a panel that included professors, local entrepreneurs, and Ethan. The overhead lights felt glaring as I showcased my slides. As I spoke, I noticed Ethan fiddling with his phone, only half listening. Rage and heartbreak twisted my guts, but I soldiered on. My final words came out shaking, breathless with the need to prove my worth. The panel applauded politely. I forced myself to look at Ethan, praying for even a small acknowledgement. He met my gaze for an instant, impassive, then turned away. That night the results posted. I placed second. The top prize went to a simple marketing concept pitched by a well-connected classmate. "I guess your idea was too niche," said one judge kindly, though I saw pity in her eyes. "But keep it up. You have real potential." Ethan left no comment. He vanished into the crowd afterward. I was crestfallen but not deterred. I resolved to develop the idea anyway. If I couldn't get campus funding, I'd save my earnings from part-time jobs, possibly crowdfund after graduation. Flashbacks from my childhood guided me. How my father, after a bad fishing season, nearly lost our home, how my mother sold handmade crafts to bridge the gap. I wanted a future where small communities thrived, unhindered by big corporate neglect. And if I was honest, part of me wanted to become so successful that Ethan would regret every time he dismissed me. By senior year, I was drowning in exhaustion. Finishing my thesis, working 2 part-time jobs, and secretly coding a beta version of my supply chain app. Nina scolded me for overextending. But a flicker of pride burned whenever I glimpsed Ethan at some campus event. Unbothered by life, sure he'd inherit his father's empire. I thought, one day I'll surpass you. Then you'll see me. The final blow came after graduation. On commencement day we lined up in caps and gowns. I lingered near the back, scanning the crowd. Ethan was near the front, of course. Summa cum laude, courtesy of privileged tutors and insider strings. He took the stage, receiving accolades. My chest tightened with complicated emotions. Envy, heartbreak, and a lingering desire for him to finally see me as something more. After the ceremony, I spotted him across the lawn, surrounded by well-wishers. I approached, diploma clutched in my sweaty hands. This was my last chance to speak to him on campus, perhaps my final attempt. My heart hammered as I tapped his shoulder. He turned, face briefly blank, then recognized me as someone from the scholarship pool. My stomach sank. "Hey," he said curtly, adjusting his mortarboard. "Jade, right?" My voice wavered. "Congratulations, Ethan. I just wanted to wish you the best. And, well, to say thanks for the memories, in a way." He gave a polite but dismissive smile. "Sure. Take care." Then he turned to his father, ignoring me again. That was it. The final snub. As I walked away, tears slipped down my cheeks, hidden by the sea of graduates. I told myself, I'm done chasing illusions. Let him be the star of his own world. I'll build mine from scratch, and someday he'll realize the treasure he cast aside. Chapter 4. The day he shattered me. Post-graduation life was a whirlwind. Ethan joined his father's corporation, Pierce Industries, stepping into a cushy position as a junior executive. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he was living lavishly, partying in Europe, attending exclusive galas. Meanwhile, I rented a tiny studio in the outskirts of the city, took on a full-time job at a small tech firm, and spent my nights refining the code for my startup. The heartbreak from my unrequited love lingered. I saw photos on social media of Ethan with glamorous women, rumored romances, none lasting long. I tried to move on, focusing on forging a name for myself. I rarely attended social events. My father, proud of my determination, offered moral support, though he lacked the resources to fund my dream. Nina, though exasperated, kept me grounded with coffee runs and pep talks. Then 6 months after graduation, I encountered Ethan by chance at a friend's birthday party. I only went because Nina begged me to have some fun. The party was a rooftop affair, city lights sparkling below. I was sipping punch near a string of fairy lights when I heard that familiar laugh behind me. My heart lurched. Turning, I saw Ethan leaning against the bar, chatting with a group. He wore a tailored suit, hair perfectly styled. He looked up, spotted me. Our eyes met. For a brief second, my pulse raced with old longing. But I forced composure, lifting my chin in polite acknowledgement. He gave me a casual nod, no real warmth in his eyes. I tried to ignore him, but minutes later he sauntered over, swirling a whiskey glass. Jade, right? It's been a while. I allowed myself a small smile. Yes, it has. He eyed me up and down. Heard you're into startups or something. Actually, Pierce Industries is looking for fresh proposals. If you have a pitch deck, you can email it. Though I can't promise much. My chest tightened. The arrogance in his tone was like a knife, his words laced with condescension. Once I would have leapt at the chance. But now I recognized his half-hearted courtesy for what it was. An empty gesture to appear magnanimous. Thanks, I said flatly. But I'm set. I prefer self-funding. He let out a low chuckle. Self-funding, huh? That's ambitious. Good luck. Then he pivoted to greet someone else, leaving me feeling small and humiliated once more. The rest of the night I avoided him, though I caught glimpses of him flirting with a socialite, brushing me aside as if I were invisible. That was the day he truly shattered my illusions of him ever reciprocating my feelings. On the cab ride home, tears stung. My phone pinged with a text from Nina. Don't let him ruin your night. You're too good for him. He was right. I stared out the window at passing headlights, vowing that I'd no longer let Ethan Pierce's dismissals define my worth. I had a dream for my startup, a real shot at forging success on my own terms. I just needed the courage to chase it wholeheartedly, and to bury my foolish longing for a man who would never appreciate me. Chapter 5. Rebirth in Shattered Pieces. And so began my metamorphosis. I channeled every ounce of heartbreak into fueling my ambition. My father's words echoed. Sometimes heartbreak is the greatest catalyst for transformation. I found small investors through networking at entrepreneur meetups. In a stroke of luck, a venture capitalist admired my scrappy approach and seeded me enough funds to prototype my supply chain app. I named it BridgeLink, a nod to bridging small vendors to global markets. My days blurred. Coding, presenting demos, meeting potential partners in cramped offices. I had no time for a social life. Nina teased that I was married to my laptop, but behind her jokes she was proud of me. My father too, though he worried I was burning out. Yet every obstacle fueled me more. Memories of Ethan's dismissive gaze spurred me onward. I wanted to stand on my own stage one day, unstoppable, while he watched from the sidelines in awe. BridgeLink's growth was slow but steady. We signed a pilot deal with a farming cooperative, then a regional distribution center. Word spread that we streamlined supply chains cheaply, effectively. A year after launch, we secured a major contract with a chain of local supermarkets. Suddenly we were profitable. I hired staff, moved into a modest office. My father nearly cried with pride. Nina quit her old job to join me as CFO, bringing her meticulous mind to our finances. Occasionally I caught a rumor about Ethan. Pierce Industries faced internal struggles with board disputes over expansions. Ethan had some fiasco with a risky overseas investment that flopped. But I brushed aside the gossip, focusing on my blossoming success. I no longer spent nights dreaming of him. I spent them dreaming of next steps for BridgeLink. By my 25th birthday, I realized I had quietly become a millionaire on paper, thanks to BridgeLink's valuation. It felt surreal standing in a small office with a team of 15 employees, leading a daily briefing. Me, once a shy scholarship kid, now commanding a room with confidence. That night, Nina organized a surprise dinner. The staff toasted me as a fearless CEO. My father, present with tears in his eyes, beamed with joy. I thought fleetingly of Ethan, wondering if he'd ever imagine I'd surpass him. But the thought no longer hurt, it simply felt like triumph. Then fate intervened in a dramatic fashion. A major publication approached me for an interview, praising BridgeLink as a disruptor in supply chain tech. They wanted a feature, a young female founder who rose from humble origins. I agreed, seeing it as a chance to draw more partnerships. The interview went smoothly, focusing on my journey. I avoided name-dropping Ethan or my heartbreak. That was in the past, irrelevant to my professional success. But the next day I was blindsided by a second interview request from the same publication, this time wanting to do a joint piece on 2 rising stars in business. They said they'd chosen me and Ethan Pierce. My heart lurched. Why him? The reporter claimed it'd be great drama. Me, a self-made founder from modest means, and Ethan, heir to a once powerful firm now struggling to reclaim lost ground. Our stories were polar opposites but had an unspoken link. I had half a mind to refuse. But Nina insisted this was golden PR. With a sigh, I agreed, though dread churned in my gut. The day of that joint interview felt like stepping onto a battlefield. I arrived at the magazine's chic office in a tailored pantsuit, hair pinned in a sleek updo, my posture exuding confidence I didn't fully feel. The reporter, a lively woman named Melanie, greeted me warmly, then led me to a modern lounge area. Ethan was already there, sipping coffee, eyes scanning the glass walls. The moment he saw me, his jaw dropped. He rose, clearly taken aback by my transformation. I gave a polite nod, face expressionless. The reporter guided us to a small conference room, where she set up recording devices. Melanie launched into questions about our backgrounds, our companies, our visions for the future. I answered calmly, explaining Bridgelink's mission. Ethan spoke about Pierce Industries restructuring, the hardships after some failed expansions. He sounded humbled, no trace of the old arrogance. But I kept my guard up. Then came the question that stung. We've heard rumors you two knew each other from college. Could you share any anecdotes, perhaps reflecting how far you've come? My stomach twisted. Memories of me chasing him flashed like a tidal wave. Ethan hesitated, clearing his throat. Yes, Jade and I attended Riverstone together. She was known for her brilliance even back then. I'm not surprised she's succeeded. I forced a neutral smile. And Ethan was quite the star from a well-established family. We rarely talked though. Different circles. A flicker of regret crossed his features. He opened his mouth as if to say more, but Melanie moved on, oblivious to the tension. The interview wrapped soon after, leaving a heavy silence. When Melanie stepped out to finalize some details, Ethan turned to me, voice low. You look amazing, Jade. And I'm impressed by what you've accomplished. I had no idea you were running such a groundbreaking company. I gazed at him, recalling how many times I longed for such acknowledgement. Now it rang hollow. I'm sure you didn't notice me at all back then. Doesn't surprise me. A pained expression flickered across his face. I see you now. I let out a soft, mirthless laugh. Too late, Ethan. With that, I collected my things, ignoring the tug of old heartbreak, and left him standing in the conference room, the taste of regret evident in the air. Chapter 6. Building My Own Empire. After the joint interview, the resulting article went viral. Heir apparent versus self-made star. The new faces of business. People devoured the story of how I soared from humble roots, overshadowing Ethan's faltering legacy. Comments flooded the magazine's website, lauding me as an inspiration while mocking Ethan's decline. I found no joy in seeing him ridiculed, but neither did I shield him from it. He had reaped what he sowed by ignoring me. Pierce Industries spiraled further, battered by internal conflicts. Rumor had it Ethan's father was gravely ill, and board members questioned Ethan's capability. Meanwhile, Bridgelink soared to new heights. We announced expansions to multiple cities, partnering with agricultural cooperatives and small manufacturers. My father glowed with pride. Nina teased me about being the city's new beloved success story. Yet behind my poised exterior, I wrestled with complicated emotions. Seeing Ethan so vulnerable stirred empathy I didn't want to feel. Each time I glimpsed a photo of him looking tired or read about another financial blow to Pierce Industries, a pang of old feelings resurfaced. Nina noticed me lost in thought, once asking gently if I was truly over him. I insisted that I deserved better. But deep inside, a fragile piece of my heart questioned whether closure was truly possible if we never had a real confrontation about the past. That confrontation arrived unexpectedly one evening at a philanthropic gala. I was a newly minted guest of honor, recognized for my efforts to uplift small businesses. The invitation soared to my father's mailbox, summoning us to a grand ballroom, replete with crystal chandeliers and string quartets. I wore a fitted navy gown, hair swept elegantly, determined to represent Bridgelink well. Halfway through the night, as I mingled with donors and local officials, I spotted Ethan across the room. He wore a crisp black tux, but the usual smugness was replaced by haunted eyes. Our gazes locked. My pulse sped. I tried to excuse myself politely from the conversation to avoid him, but before I could slip away, he approached, shoulders stiff with nerves. "Jade," he said quietly, extending a hand as if we were dance partners. "Could we talk?" Every muscle in me tensed. But I nodded, if only to end whatever lingering tension existed. We found a secluded corner behind towering floral arrangements. The hum of laughter and clinking glasses formed a distant backdrop to our tense exchange. He swallowed, voice low. Firstly, congratulations on your success. Everyone's talking about you. I masked my emotions. Thank you. And I'm sorry for your father's health issues. I heard. A flicker of sorrow crossed his face. He's not well. The board pressures me to fix the mess, but I'm struggling. He paused, exhaling shakily. I wish I'd realized your brilliance sooner. Maybe if we'd worked together, things could be different for Pierce Industries. A rush of old pain surfaced. You only see me now that I can benefit you? Typical. My words were harsh, but I couldn't hide the bitterness. He winced, stepping closer. That's not it. I regret how I treated you. I was young, spoiled, blind. When you reached out in college, I didn't appreciate your warmth. I'm sorry. He tried to place a hand on mine, but I pulled away. Apology noted, I replied coldly. But it doesn't erase the years I spent feeling worthless. His dark brown eyes gleamed with remorse. I know. Let me make it up to you. We can collaborate. My father's company can pivot, fund your expansions. We could be unstoppable together. I almost laughed. You think I need your money now? Bridgelink is thriving. I built it from nothing, no thanks to you. He swallowed hard, voice catching. I'm not just offering money. I want to be part of your life. I see you, Jade. I admire you. Please, give me a chance. My heart pounded with conflicting emotions. Part of me yearned for the acceptance I once craved. But I recalled every time he ignored me, every tear I shed. Ethan, I said softly, I spent years chasing you, dreaming you'd love me. You never did. Now that I'm above you in status, you suddenly want me? That's not love. It's opportunism or regret. Neither interests me. He flinched, tears threatening. So that's it? You won't even consider it. I felt tears pricking my eyes, but I held firm. I deserve genuine devotion, not a last-minute scramble to salvage your pride. Good luck rebuilding your empire, but count me out. Before he could respond, I turned, leaving him behind the floral arrangement, my chest tight with the weight of finality. As I walked away, I spotted my father across the ballroom, smiling proudly at me. Nina gave me a subtle thumbs up. I realized I wasn't alone anymore. I had a father who believed in me, a friend who rooted for me, a team who respected me. I no longer needed the validation of a man who once discarded me like a passing shadow. Chapter 7. When our paths crossed again. Life after that gala was a mixture of relief and lingering ache. I'd confronted Ethan, refused his new interest, and reaffirmed my independence. Yet a small part of me nursed a bruise of sorrow. Despite the anger, a fragment of my heart remembered the boy I idealized, wishing in some parallel universe we could have known each other differently. Bridgelink's trajectory soared further. We expanded internationally, forging partnerships in Europe. I traveled extensively, meeting global investors, forging alliances. My father, though unused to flights, accompanied me on a couple of trips, marveling at how far we'd come. Nina orchestrated marketing campaigns that placed us in top tech journals. We were unstoppable, or so it seemed. Then, unexpectedly, I crossed paths with Ethan again halfway around the world in London. I was attending a trade conference showcasing Bridgelink's updates. He was there, presumably seeking foreign investors to rescue Pierce Industries. Our booths stood on opposite ends of the grand hall, each representing a company on vastly different trajectories. At first, we avoided each other, busy with meetings. On the final day, the conference hosted a formal banquet at a 5-star hotel. The setting was reminiscent of all those old parties I once felt so out of place in. This time, I arrived in a designer gown I purchased myself, comfortable in my own success. As I mingled, I heard someone clearing their throat behind me. I turned to see Ethan, looking nervous. "Jade," he said softly. "May I have a moment?" I pressed my lips together. "All right." He led me to a quieter balcony overlooking London's skyline. The city lights glimmered under a star-studded sky. The hush between us thrummed with tension. Finally he spoke, voice trembling slightly. "Pierce Industries is on the brink. Our board threatened to replace me if I don't secure major foreign backing. I tried everything, loans, alliances. Nothing worked. I'm failing. And through it all I keep thinking about you, about how you overcame every obstacle. About how I belittled your potential all those years ago. A wave of sympathy mingled with wariness. I'm sorry for your troubles, truly. But that doesn't change the past. He swallowed hard, tears reflecting in the city lights. I know. And I'm not asking you to bail me out. I just needed to tell you how proud I am of you, how ashamed I am of my ignorance. You were always there shining, but I was too blind to see. Now, ironically, you're the star and I'm in the shadows. My chest tightened. This raw vulnerability was new. Ethan, you must realize how strange it feels to hear you regret ignoring me only now that you need me. Are your feelings genuine, or are they about saving Pierce Industries? He shook his head. They're genuine, Jade. I can't deny the desperation in my situation, but my regret is real. Even if you never help me, I want you to know I truly admire you and I'm sorry. A long silence stretched. The city breeze brushed my hair, reminding me how far I'd come. I thought about forgiveness, about letting go of bitterness. My father always taught me that resentment weighs heavy on the soul. But I also had to protect myself from illusions. So I breathed in deeply and said, I appreciate your apology. I won't lie, part of me is glad you see my worth now. But too much damage has been done. I can't just forget the years you made me feel invisible. He nodded, voice low. I understand. If you ever find it in your heart to see me differently, I'll be waiting. But I won't push you. I gave a faint smile. Take care of yourself, Ethan. We parted without a dramatic farewell, each returning to our separate corners of the banquet. My heart ached with the finality and the strange warmth that came from hearing him validate my achievements. For the first time, I recognized that the longing I once felt was gone. In its place stood a guarded compassion. I didn't hate him anymore. I simply no longer needed him. Chapter 8. Confessions in the Rain. Back in the city, my life resumed. The days sped by as I oversaw expansions, collaborated with partners, and nurtured a philanthropic branch to help small entrepreneurs. My father teased that I was turning into a mini lending bank, always wanting to uplift others. But that philanthropic spirit felt right, a tribute to my humble roots. Weeks passed without contact from Ethan. Occasionally, rumors reached me. Pierce Industries had declared partial bankruptcy. Ethan's father was rumored to be on his deathbed. The once mighty family empire crumbled under poor management and a shifting economic landscape. I felt sorry for them, but it no longer consumed me. Then, on a stormy evening, I left a corporate meeting late, stepping into a downpour. I cussed under my breath, fumbling for my umbrella. Suddenly, headlights flashed, a car pulled up. The window rolled down, revealing Ethan's tired face. He was drenched, hair plastered to his forehead as if he'd been walking in the rain. Jade, he shouted over the thunder, please get in. Let me drive you home. I hesitated, soaked to the skin, but the storm was fierce. With reluctance, I slid into the passenger seat of his modest sedan. Evidently, he no longer drove luxury cars. The interior smelled of damp upholstery and stress. He started the engine, but for a moment neither of us spoke. Rain pummeled the windshield, lightning flickered. I glimpsed heartbreak etched in his features. What are you doing out here? I asked softly. He sighed. My father passed away today. I left the hospital not knowing where to go. I ended up wandering near your office building. I guess I just needed to see you. I know it's selfish. My anger melted. A father's death is a heavy blow. Compassion sparked. I'm sorry for your loss, Ethan. Truly. He nodded, knuckles white on the steering wheel. He told me in his last coherent moment that he regretted never welcoming you or acknowledging my mistakes. He said I wasted a chance with someone remarkable. Tears welled in my eyes. The storm battered the car as if nature wept with him. He exhaled shakily. I don't expect pity or a miracle. I just needed a friend tonight. The rest of my so-called friends vanished when the money dried up. You're the only person I thought of. A swirl of memories flashed. Me chasing him ignoring me. Now the roles reversed, ironically, him seeking solace from me. My chest clenched. I can't be your salvation, Ethan. I can offer sympathy for your grief. That's all. He nodded, voice thick with tears. I'll take it. Thank you. We drove in silence. The wipers squeaked, the storm raging. We arrived at my apartment building where he parked. Without thinking, I invited him up to avoid the downpour. We entered my sleek penthouse. Bought after Bridgelink soared, an ironic testament to my success. I offered him a towel, noticing how small and broken he looked. We sat in the living room, the city lights blurred by raindrops on the windows. He recounted his father's final days, the regrets, the unspoken words of pride. My heart twisted for him, recalling my own father's unwavering support. I gently laid a hand on his shoulder. It's okay to mourn. You have a right to grieve, no matter our past. He broke down then, tears streaming as thunder shook the sky. I offered no false promises, no illusions. Just presence. Eventually the storm calmed. He glanced around, noticing the tasteful decor, the success so evident in my home. A sad smile tugged at his lips. You truly outshined us all, Jade. I wish I'd had half your drive. I shrugged, tears lingering in my own eyes. I found my motivation in heartbreak. Maybe we can call it even for all the times I tried to show you my worth. He sighed. I'm sorry I was so blind. I'd give anything to go back and do it differently. I felt an odd mixture of closure and sorrow. We can't change the past, I murmured. But we can learn from it. He spent the night on my couch, dozing fitfully. At dawn the storm clouds parted. We shared a silent breakfast, an uneasy peace between us. Then he left quietly, thanking me for the kindness. I watched him go, feeling like we'd reached an unspoken truce. My old longing no longer hurt like before, replaced by a gentle compassion. If this was the final chapter of us, so be it. Chapter 9. The Weight of Regret. The media soon blared the news of the Harrington patriarch's death, the subsequent dissolution of Pierce Industries. Ethan, inheriting the mess, sold off assets to pay debts. I occasionally glimpsed articles describing him living in a modest apartment, overshadowed by the meteoric rise of my startup. The irony wasn't lost on me. Once upon a time he was the star and I was the nobody. Now fate reversed our positions drastically. Despite all, my life brimmed with challenges outside of Ethan. Managing Bridgelink's global expansions, dealing with heavy workload, ensuring employee well-being. I traveled often, meeting government officials in emerging markets, forging new partnerships. My father's health wavered, a reminder that success meant little if family was neglected. So I balanced business with frequent visits to check on him, ensuring he had top-notch medical care, something I could now afford easily. But with each passing day, a strange emptiness loomed. The success that once fueled me felt less fulfilling. I had wealth, recognition, the freedom I craved, but at times the nights felt lonely. Nina teased me about dating. I brushed it off, focusing on the next deal. The memory of how I once pinned my happiness on Ethan lingered, reminding me that love was not a game of illusions, nor did success guarantee emotional contentment. Then, in a surprising twist, an old philanthropic organization invited me to a charity ball. They wanted me as a keynote speaker, praising how Bridgelink revitalized small vendors. Normally, I avoided big social galas, but I recognized the cause aligned with my father's Fisher cooperatives. So I agreed, wearing a sleek black gown, stepping into a glitzy hotel ballroom reminiscent of the parties from my college days. The crowd parted respectfully, offering me warm welcomes and handshakes. Over champagne I chatted with local dignitaries. My eyes scanned the room, noticing a figure in a corner. My heart skipped. Ethan. He was here, likely as a courtesy invite from older times. He wore a simple suit, not the extravagant style of yore. He looked subdued, sipping water alone. Anxiety thrummed in me. Should I greet him? Before I decided, he noticed me, a bittersweet smile crossing his lips. He approached quietly. You look lovely, Jade, he said, voice soft, no trace of arrogance. I mustered a smile. Thank you. Didn't expect to see you here. He shrugged. I still do some philanthropic work in my father's name. Couldn't let everything vanish. If the last piece of legacy I can salvage. Sympathy flickered. I see. It's commendable that you continue it. He hesitated, eyes flicking to the stage. I heard you're the keynote speaker. I'm sure you'll dazzle them. A wave of memories rushed. All those times I tried to catch his eye. Now, ironically, he was praising me in earnest. We'll see, I replied, heart heavy with the finality that we'd become two ships passing in the night. When the time came, I delivered my speech, sharing how Bridgelink's success emerged from bridging the gap for smaller communities. I ended with an impassioned note about how heartbreak and challenges shaped me into who I was. The applause thundered. I scanned the crowd, Noticing Ethan's eyes glistening, tears he quickly wiped away. That single moment told me everything. He regretted every time he dismissed me, recognized how I soared beyond his reach. After the event, he found me by the refreshment table. "Jade," he murmured, voice shaky. That speech, it felt personal. I gave him a gentle nod. It was. My father once told me heartbreak can be the best catalyst. So I used mine to build something meaningful. A tear slipped down his cheek. I was that heartbreak, wasn't I? Silence hung. Then I placed a hand on his shoulder, acknowledging the truth. Yes, you were. But maybe I needed that pain to grow. He swallowed. I never meant to be your stepping stone, but I'm glad you turned it into success. If there's any shred of redemption for me, it's that maybe my ignorance pushed you to shine. A sad smile crossed my lips. I suppose so. He inhaled, trembling. Any chance I could redeem myself further? My feelings for you now, they're real. I want to make up for what I did. Could we ever start over? My eyes misted. It's too late for that, Ethan. I can't be with someone who only sees my worth when I'm on top. I've learned to value myself without your validation. He nodded, tears unmasked. I understand. He lingered a moment longer as if hoping for a different answer, then whispered, "I'll always be sorry." With that, he disappeared into the departing crowd, leaving me with a quiet ache but also relief. We had come full circle. I no longer needed him, and that was the real victory. Chapter 10. Between Forgiveness and Pride. A year after that charity ball, I found myself in a calmer emotional space. The bitterness had faded, replaced by a balanced acceptance. Bridgelink thrived, employing hundreds, changing lives globally. My father's health stabilized thanks to top-tier care. Nina teased me about venturing into philanthropic expansions, maybe launching an incubator for small startups. One afternoon, I received an unmarked envelope at my office. Inside was a letter from Ethan, postmarked from a small town upstate. He wrote, "Jade, I left the city. I'm living simpler now, volunteering at a community center. I realized that wealth without purpose is empty. Thank you for teaching me that lesson, even unintentionally. I've accepted that we won't be together, but I hope you can forgive me for the hurt I caused. I'll always admire you. Ethan." I read it twice, tears quietly falling. The arrogance that once defined him was gone. He had found some measure of peace, or so it seemed. Perhaps we all needed heartbreak to discover our truest selves. That day I penned a short reply. "Ethan, I forgive you. I hope you find fulfillment in your new life. Take care. Jade." I mailed it, releasing a sigh of final closure. The pride I once had in being richer or more successful than him no longer mattered. True wealth, I learned, was never about money but about self-worth, love, and the impact we leave on others. Epilogue. A future still unwritten. Years have passed since the night I wrote that final letter to Ethan. Bridgelink stands as a global powerhouse. We've helped thousands of small vendors flourish, bridging the gap between the powerful and the overlooked. My father retired happily, traveling with my mother. Nina continues to serve as my right-hand CFO, both of us occasionally laughing at how we once worried over petty campus dramas. As for me, I'm content, no longer the starry-eyed girl chasing a man who barely knew my name. I found love in unexpected places, not with one grand dramatic flair, but through gentle connections that honored my worth. When I walk the city streets, I see traces of my old illusions in every corner, yet I carry no regrets. Because heartbreak shaped me, fueling a resilience that turned longing into empire. Sometimes, late at night, I recall the times Ethan ignored me, the desperate tears I shed. A pang of nostalgia flickers. But I'm at peace with it. If I met him tomorrow, I'd greet him with a smile, not bitterness. We both discovered ourselves the hard way. I wonder if he found genuine happiness in that quiet town, far from the noise of corporate ambition. My name is Jade Evans, and I once chased a man for years, yearning for his acceptance. He overlooked me until the day I eclipsed everything he stood for. Our roles reversed, but ironically, victory never came from his pursuit. It came from me discovering my own light. This is the story of how heartbreak forged a new destiny, and how, in letting go of illusions, I finally embraced the love and success I deserved. The future remains unwritten, but I face it with an open heart, richer in spirit, in compassion, and yes, in fortune, knowing I no longer need to chase anyone but the best version of myself.